Okay, welcome to quad tutorial number 8. Let's see what we've got here. Still looking at a quadratic trinomial, right? And when we look at it, we see we don't have anything we can factor out. There's no greatest common factor. So we're going to do our parentheses. And so we are still, this type of factoring is still undistributing, but we know when we have a trinomial, we're going to set up our two parentheses, and we're going to find two numbers that multiply to equal 12, but add to equal -7. We haven't seen this type before, have we? So we need to think of two numbers that multiply to equal a positive number, but add to equal a negative number. How can that be? Well, let's think about it. There are two ways to multiply and get a positive answer. Either both both the numbers that you're multiplying are both positive, or the numbers you're multiplying are both negative. So we're going to have to go the negative route, right? When I think about 12, I think about I could use -2 times -6, right? But that's not going to give me a -7. What two numbers am I looking at? I'm going to look at, that's right, I'm going to look at a -3 and a -4. So this is cool, right? Two negative numbers, when multiplied, if you put those in your calculator, don't believe me, go ahead and put it in your calculator, you'll see you'll get a positive answer of 12. But when we add those two negative numbers, we'll get the, if I write it right, if we add those two negative numbers, we will get a negative answer. So this is pretty cool. We've got a plus here, but a minus here. So we can't just use a +3 and a +4, right? That would work to multiply to get a +12, but because we have a negative here, we've got to have both of our numbers be negative. And of course we put our x here, and you know the rest, right? We've got factored form. We can set each of the factors equal to 0. We can go ahead. The lunch people are making a lot of noise right now. I don't know if you can hear them. We can go ahead and solve for x, and we get our two answers are 3 and 4. All right, if you don't have a marker board and a marker and wipe, go ahead and get that, because the next slide is going to be where you work on this problem at your own speed. And when you're done, go ahead and unpause and check your answers. Okay, here we go. So hopefully you picked, drum roll please, -3 and -5. Does it matter if you put your -5 first? Nope. Same answer, right? Now that we have our trinomial in factored form, right? That's our trinomial. And now it's in factored form. We can go ahead and set each of our factors equal to 0. And we get our two answers. X equals 3 and x equals 5. Awesome. Let's try it again. We have the same issue, right? We have two numbers that multiply to equal a positive number. And when we take those the same two numbers, they have to add to equal a negative number. The only way that's going to happen is if we use two negative numbers. Now, -2 times -3, that will give me a 6. But darn it, -2 plus -3 is not going to give me a -7. That's not going to work. So I think this is the first time we've used a 1, but 1 times 6 is 6, right? And so let's use the negative of it. -1 times -6 is 6, and -1 plus -6 is -7. So it's a little bit weird when we use 1 as one of our numbers, but it happens. So you can put the -1 there, -6, either way. Once we figure out those two numbers, then the rest is so easy, right? It's just finding those two numbers that can take some time. So take your time, double check yourself, and make sure you're right. So it's in factored form, so we're going to set each of these factors equal to 0. We're going to solve for x. We're going to get that there are two answers that make this trinomial equal to 0 when you plug them in for x. All right, marker board. Go ahead and pause the marker board and unpause when you have figured out the answer. All right, so you're back. Wow, did you look at that 100 and say, what? So let's see. I need to figure out two numbers that multiply to equal 100, but also add together to equal a negative number. This tells me that both of my numbers that I'm multiplying have to be negative. So I'm thinking about 100, I'm thinking about negative 10 times negative 10. Okay, that works, but they don't add up to equal negative 29, right? What else? We could use 5, negative 5 times negative 20. Oh, that doesn't add up to negative 29. Oh, what about negative 4 times negative 25? Negative 4 times negative 25 gives me a positive 100, and when I add them together, give me a negative 29. It's kind of fun, isn't it, coming up with those two numbers? So we put our two numbers here in any order we want. Negative 25 could have gone first. We put our x's. This is in factored form. We set our factors equal to 0. We solve. Do we have to do the plus 4 plus 4? No, by this time you can skip that. I'm just putting that in so that those people that like to include that step feel better. But you do not need that plus 4 plus 4. You can go from this step to this one, and you can skip this little step if you want. All right, so there's our answer. I think probably, do we have, oh, was this our marker board one? Yep. So I think we're done. Thank you for joining me, and go have fun practicing, continuing to practice factoring quadratic trinomials, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thanks for joining me.